this is Cindy Presgraves with Real Estate Divorced Single Mom, and today we have Todd Bauerle, and he is one of the top coaches for Law of Attraction with Bob Proctor. Hi, Todd. How are you doing today?
I'm awesome, Cindy. Really excited to be here and chatting with you.
Me too. I'm so excited about this this podcast and talking to you because of the Law of Attraction and how it works. So can you tell me a little bit more about how the Law of Attraction works?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the best thing is to kind of share kind of my background and story in this, right? So, the idea of the law of attraction is we become what we think about. And I know we were talking just before beginning the recording about how it shows up for both of us. But to be honest, when I heard that we become what we think about, I had a mentor that pointed out I wasn't really thinking. I wasn't really doing anything. I was just kind of running on automatic pilot. And that's kind of how my life was. I felt very much disempowered, frustrated, stuck. And that's what I got from life. And it was pointing out this idea that you have to change how you're thinking and change how you're feeling to change your life. And that kind of blew my mind and got me to realize that if I haven't been thinking, if I haven't been controlling my thoughts, if I haven't been controlling how I was feeling and I was disappointed with my life, what if I could learn how to control that? What changes could I make? Like it shook me to such a degree that I couldn't even sleep that night. I had so much energy and I realized that I had a greater potential to really control my life. So I had to learn more about it too. And so that's when I started working with a coach. And this is about 2016. So for anybody that's listening and never heard of the law of attraction, or maybe you have, but you haven't made it work. I mean, I have in 2016 to now, I have learned from the best in the business. I have read some of the most important books, and I've completely 180 degrees changed all the results of my life because I didn't know anything about the law of attraction several years ago. I didn't know anything about it, never met Bob Proctor, and I've turned it all around. So I want to just tell everybody that there's hope out there that you can learn and master this. But your question was, how's the law of attraction work? That's a pretty broad question, Cindy. Like, I could talk for the next 3 days about how it works. So what more specifically, what questions do you have? Or do you want me to give like a high level overview? Where do you want me to go with that?
I would say let's go with a high level overview, and then I'll ask you a few questions after that, if that's okay.
Yeah. So to understand how the law of attraction work, we need to recognize really what this existence is. Most people are, so your profession is real estate. So let's take a real estate agent. Every day is kind of the same kind of grind, right? You wake up, you've got your clients to work with, you got the houses that you're repping, or you got to find houses to sell, you got to do showings, you have to, all of that busyness takes up a large amount of real estate in your mind, right?
Yes, that is correct.
And so is it fair enough to say that some people approach that as a grind?
Some of them do, but I approach it in a different way, actually.
Well, of course you do. You have to, because you're interested in mindset, right?
Definitely.
So a lot of people think about all of these tasks and how every day is just unfolds is kind of the same way. And they don't start to realize who they are, what they're doing. You're a spiritual being. You're actually made up more of energy than you are physical matter. You're 99.9999% energy. Everything is energy. The computer that we're on, we're communicating. I'm in Northern Michigan, you're in Georgia, we're communicating through energy. Our whole reality is energy. And everything exists on a frequency of energy. Right? So there's a prosperous mindset and a poverty mindset. And what separates that is a frequency. And when we're thinking on a frequency, and every frequency is hooked up, one above and one below, because everything is connected. The thing that makes me vibrate as the being Todd versus the deck here that I'm sitting on is just a frequency of energy that's different. Now, I have conscious awareness, and I may not know whether or not the deck has conscious awareness, and that's what makes us unique and individual. We're spiritual beings, meaning we're energy, but we have conscious awareness, meaning we have an intellect. We can choose our thoughts. You're the most powerful person in your life because you can control your mind and what you think. And through controlling those thoughts, your mind, you can choose to think thoughts, program yourself with your goal, with your intention of what you want, and then allow that to manifest or show up in your experience based on the quality of thinking. I'm in the middle of doing like a 5-day workshop. I had a gal yesterday answer a question. I was giving away a copy of the book Think and Grow Rich. And she's the only one in the comments that said, I will win this book tomorrow. And she's the one that won. Now, we totally randomly put the names in and like drew it, but she had the intention and the enthusiasm, was the only one to commit to saying, I will win this. And she attracted that into her. And so that's really a super high level of how the law of attraction works. We're spiritual beings, which means that we're connected to everything in nature. We have an intellect. We can choose our thoughts and choose what we want our future to look like. And by a process of maintaining focus on our goals and our intentions of what we want and surrendering how it shows up to us, that's the most important part, letting go of how it happens, we can call things into our experience or manifest it. It's not like poof, she created the book. She attracted the experience into her life, and thereby you can change your physical reality. How's that? Is that high level enough for you?
No, definitely. I totally agree. I mean, it's basically what we are is what we attract, and it's the mindset. And yes, as in real estate, I basically like to work with, like, the clients that I've attract are very positive, and I always tell them, like, if we're going to put an offer, think positive. It's meant to be, it's meant to be. If it's not, if there's a reason behind it, there's always something better along the line. So it's always going to be on how you see and how you perceive things, and your perception of things. If you think like negative, I'm like, no, 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 no. We're not going to think negative. We want positive. And sometimes it's a little bit hard and a little bit difficult because, I mean, especially when we get sad or down or something happens, be like, no, we got to always look at the positive outlook on this.
And can we be honest? Most people don't have that ability. Most people aren't positive. I mean, there's a lot of that out there. There's a lot of negativity. I came from that. I grew up around that. In fact, it's the reason why I felt that way, why I felt so negative. It is hard to change those habits. And the law of attraction responds more to your feelings than it does to your thinking. It's more about the feeling than anything. And there's a lot of people that feel frustrated or overwhelmed or powerless or so on and so forth, and wonder why life brings them more of those experiences. And so it is a constant. When you say mindset, I think of a thermostat in the house, right? You can have the thermostat set to a certain temperature. Well, most people's lives, their mind is set to their current results. And if they want to change it, they have to reset it. And that is a nonstop process of guarding and watching your mindset to look at the positive, to allow the ebb and flow of life, and not get hung up on the negative problems, right? Just to stay open to what good the universe has in store, because the universe, or God, however you relate to it, is just an omnipresent, omnibenevolent, all good energy that wants to express itself through you in your life. We just have to be in harmony with it.
You just put it out there in the universe. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. If it's not, you know what? There's always something else that's going to come along. And this is something like with frequencies, like you can tell when someone has a low frequency, middle, or a really high frequency. It's all about energy. Like you said, we're all energy. And it's so interesting.
Yeah, and some people might be skeptical, but I guarantee you we all have experiences where we're around someone that makes us uncomfortable, or you can walk past one room and have a party going on, and there's all kinds of positive vibes, and you're like, whoa, what's happening in there? I want to go in there. But we can also walk past a room that has a really dark energy. You're like, ooh, whatever's happening in there, I don't want a part of that. That's our intuition telling us how to read that energy a little bit. And a lot of people, might think it's woo woo or might be skeptical, but we're an intuitive species. We have those experiences that we can't explain, except that maybe we call it luck or things like that. But in fact, our having this conversation, we could see this as luck, but also I look at it as a manifestation, because I've had a business coach telling me, hey, you need to get on different podcasts. And here you are showing up saying, hey, you want to be on my podcast? Talk about mindset? Yeah, absolutely. Life has a lot of that in store for us if we're open to it.
Oh, definitely. And especially like connecting with people. It's amazing. Like, for instance, today I had lunch with this other agent that he contacted me through Facebook. He's like, hey, can we have a meeting? I'm like, okay. But then in that same meeting, there is a lady behind us. She's another agent too. Happens to be, we were Facebook friends too, but I had never talked to her, never met her.
Wow.
And it's like we were all talking about the same thing, about energy, about positivity. And it's amazing because it, like, how you express yourself and how you vibrate your frequency and all that is what you're going to attract. But at the same time, it can change someone's life. I mean, you might say, like, why would you even talk about changing someone's life? You, words have power, and that's, words have power, energy. It's like the way you think and the way you express yourself might be very impactful for people too.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about words. You know, your word is your truth. Or another book that I love is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. That book is really powerful. The first agreement is to be impeccable with your word. Your word is your truth. Your word is a representation of your reality. And this idea of your word being powerful to manifest and call things in. Words are a symbol of an idea, right? This is where energy and intention and emotion are all shared experiences. We might call it something different because of the words that we use. And let's say, you know, so you speak Spanish as well. I know habla Espanol very well at all, right? But the words that we use in each language, they don't mean the same thing. It's all representative of that energy. And so it's the energy that's behind the words that is so important. So to always be mindful of that energy in the words that we speak, because we can speak things into existence. And so we should be respectful of that sacred power, I think. Most people are a little reckless with their words, and I've had plenty of those experiences myself. I'm always looking to improve myself, because that's the other thing about mindset or law of attraction. It's a never ending, I'm going to be careful with my words. It is a never ending journey to becoming better each day. But word is powerful. Word and images. Images are also a representation of that energy.
And that's and I would say the same thing too, because I mean, like in the mornings, it's like they say, hey, you know what, you should actually manifest your day. You should actually be have gratitude every single day. What are you grateful for? What are you having gratitude for? And then how are you actually starting your day? That is very, very important. Are you starting like all grumpy, like, oh, do I really want to wake up now? No, I don't want to go to work. Oh, we're gonna do that. But then, hey, you know what? I'm going to have free lunches all day long. People are going to invite me left and right for free dinners. Okay, that actually happens. So
It
it's
does.
you put it out there in the universe, and that's what you're going to get. Hey, you'd be like, hey, I'm going to sell whatever amount this month. All right, let's just put it out there. But you also have to put the work in there too.
Well, and so this is where that daily routine or daily gratitude journal is so important. When I work with my clients, it's one of the first exercises I have them do is a journal of 10 things that they're grateful for every day. In the book, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace, there's an entire chapter on gratitude. Chapter 7 is all about gratitude. And he says in that book that the entire process of mental adjustment and atonement can be summed up in one word: gratitude. Now, what does that mean? Mental adjustment of your frequency, changing the radio dial on your thoughts. To change the frequency of your thoughts, gratitude is how you can accomplish that. So how do I adjust my thoughts, mentally adjust my thoughts to that of a divine universe or divine God being thoughts? Through gratitude. And they also use the word atonement, which I find very interesting, not necessarily because of the Christian connotation, though I myself am a Christian as well, which I know a lot of people might wonder, how does that work with law of attraction? That's a whole nother podcast, I think. But this word atonement means to join back together something that once was whole, right? So if we view ourselves as energetic beings, and we're connected to everything, we were once a part of this mass universal energy or consciousness, and we've separated here in this physical reality for a time, but we can make atonement or come back into harmony with universal energy through gratitude. Gratitude is also the emotional signature of having received something. And if you're in the law of attraction, or you have a goal, or you want to manifest something, that desire comes out of not having it. And one of the tricks with manifesting is to feel the way you would if you had received it. And constantly maintaining an energy of gratitude is one way to do that.
That is very true. It's like there's a book. I don't know if you know. Have you read this book? It's The Universe Has Your Back by Gabriel Bernstein. I
It's
love the
sitting on my shelf there. It's one of the books I wanted to read this summer on vacation.
You have to read it. It is amazing because she talks about, there's different things that she talks about, and it's basically like it is true. I mean, are we really manifesting what we really want? Are we asking the universe what we really want? I mean, are you really being honest with you? Yes, sometimes, hey, we go through our ups and down. I'll be honest with you. Hey, you know what? Sometimes I'll be like, "Oh, am I doing really this? Am I really doing all this good or not? Am I wasting my time?" But then, you get how to say this? You get that you get something saying, "Hey, you know what? You're doing an amazing job. Keep on doing it." And then you keep on doing what you're supposed to be doing, like motivating people and inspiring people, and that you're in the right path. But when you're not, you're going to see all those rocks in the way. It's going to be a lumpy road.
Mm-hmm. Well, however, I will say I think that the road is always a bumpy road, because the road to success is paved with failure. The only reason that people live in lack is because they're ignorant of how to change to live another way. So they don't know. And when I think of someone that lives in ignorance, I think of a small baby and child who's ignorant of how to walk. They don't know, but they see other people walking around. And so what do? They start to crawl, and then they stand up and they fall down and they hurt themselves. They keep trying over and over. And your parents, your mentors at the time, are teaching and coaching you on how to walk better. But you only learn to walk by falling down. It's the same way with using the law of attraction, or starting your own business, or selling a property in real estate. You're going to learn what works for you by finding out what doesn't work. Problem is I think too many people look at failure and judge themselves too harshly, or identify that failure with them. There's something wrong with me because I failed. And they stop. They don't learn and modify and try again.
But that's basically, I mean, the failure is the best experience that we can experience, because that's what's going to make us as a stronger person and a better it could be a better professional, better parent, um, a better spouse,
Mhm.
have a better relationship with everybody and anything.
Yeah.
And not only that, but it's I can't remember how you say this quote. It's like failure forward failure. You know what I'm talking about?
Fail forward,
Yes.
fail fast, fail forward.
Yes.
And there's a third one, but yeah.
I don't have it. Yeah, but it's that. So
Yep.
it's so amazing, because sometimes we look at it now. When I go through rough patches or rough times, I'll be like, my mindset was never, it was not always like this. I would be in a negative mindset like for months, and I did not know how to move forward from it. But now what I see, like, okay, you know what? Everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be, you know what? This is just an experience. Let me just keep on moving forward. Can we just click on the button and just move forward, fast forward to it? But
Yeah.
it doesn't really work through it. But it's the experience that makes us better people.
And the law of attraction is really a secondary law. It's not the primary law. There's the law of vibration, that everything vibrates and you're on that frequency and you're in harmony with it. But one of the other laws is the law of rhythm. The law of rhythm says that there's an up and down, there's an ebb and flow to everything. So there's days where you're going to be on, and you're going to, weeks where you're going to sell several houses. And then there's going to be weeks where there's a lull in that mindset. And instead of identifying with it, learning that, okay, there's a time to plant and a time to harvest, and when those are, so you can ride those up and downs, I think is a huge part of that. This is where the law of attraction is not necessarily, I'm going to think and wish, or I watched The Secret and now I can just think I'm going to be a millionaire and it's going to happen. There's a lot more nuance to that, because your mindset is programmed the way that it's been your whole life from your environment, and you can't just change that dial on the thermostat and then walk away from it and feel like everything's fine. There's a process to continuing to make that adjustment in your mindset.
And that's where you have to do the work. It'd be like, oh yeah, you know what, I'm going to be a millionaire. But it's also the connections that you make along the way, the people that you talk to. It's like, for instance, so last year during the pandemic, I did fly a lot through from Atlanta to Albuquerque, and I was in the mindset of, okay, I don't want to go to Los Angeles, I don't want to go to LAX, because it was from Albuquerque to Los Angeles to Atlanta.
Yeah, that's a crazy flight.
Did not make any sense. I'm like, can I just go back home? All right. But I had been talking about, I threw it out to the universe. I was like, you know what? I want to learn about stocks, but I had been afraid of going and getting into, investing into stocks because I had no idea.
Right.
So,
ignorance, right?
yeah,
I didn't know.
my
You don't know what you don't know.
So in this case, I was like, okay, there's a reason that I have to go to Los Angeles, and it's because I'm going to meet someone. Someone's going to teach me something that I have no idea. You know what happened? All right. So I was waiting. There was like this layover. I think it was like a 4-hour layover on top of that. I had the red eye to Atlanta. And it happens to be, I met this old man. So he was probably in his 70s years. He was around 70 years old, and he was looking for a charger. Okay, way to start a conversation, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, sir, there is a charger underneath your chair. And he's like, oh, thank you. And I'm like, I started like talking to him. I'm like, he looked at me and I looked at him like, oh, hi, how you doing? Oh yeah, you know what, where are you going to? You know, typical airport conversation, right? And he was like, hey, you know what, in the past few weeks, I've made a couple $1 million with the stock market. I'm like, oh, awesome. And I'm like thinking in my mind, I'm like, I want to learn. Can he tell me? He's like, he looked at me and like, do you want to learn? I grabbed my notebook and I'm like, all right. And he was like so happy. We had like a 3-hour conversation about the stock market. And I was like amazed. I'm like, okay, so how my mindset attracted that. Like, instead of me being grumpy about going to Los Angeles, I was like, okay, there's a reason that I'm going to Los Angeles. I'm going to meet someone that I'm going to learn something, and so forth. And effectively, I started investing it into stocks.
I was going to ask you if you followed it up with action then, because that's the other part of it, right?
I did. And it's amazing because, I mean, you never know what, if you put it out there and you change your perspective of things, everything's going to change. I mean, instead of being like negative on things and just changing, lowering your frequency, that's not going to help you. But if you go ahead and change it in a different perspective, different way, they'll be like, wow, it's going to blow you. It's going to be even better than blowing you off out of this world completely.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's the thing. If people really understood that they could design their life, design their future, and that there's a way to do that, and people could work on that, I think we would change so much in this world. But even just on an individual level, everybody would be happier, healthier, wealthier, if they just took advantage of that God-given power that we have to choose our thinking, control our mindset, and call into experience those things that we want.
I totally agree with that.
Absolutely. Well, what other questions do you have?
So how did you get, okay, so I know we spoke earlier about like how you got into the law of attraction, but what made you change into all this, into being a coach for law of attraction?
Yeah, so I tell everybody, you've got two motivations: moving towards what you want or away from what you don't want, right? You've got a joy or a positive motivation or pain. There's some kind of pain. And for me, it was an excess of pain. I was a coach, career coach. I was teaching people how to, in fact, let me back up. I've always wanted to help people. I thought I would go be a marriage and family therapist or something like that. And that's what my education was, in family and human development from Arizona State. And I worked in social work for a long time. I ended up working for the state of Utah. I was a career coach. I was helping people get better jobs. I was probably their best coach. I wrote curriculum on LinkedIn and helped, people get six-figure jobs, but I was earning $35,000 a year. I was married, had three kids. My wife was earning more than me. She was also working in social work. What changed for me was my wife's diagnosis. She was diagnosed with a brain tumor in 2015, over Labor Day weekend. She ended up in surgery within 24 hours and had that tumor removed. Making a long story short, she recovered. It was a benign tumor. She has had some radiation. She hasn't worked since, but I've got three little boys. My oldest was finishing kindergarten the day that she had her surgery, and my two other boys were a couple of years younger. And so I have my three boys, my wife who's disabled, and my mortgage payment, and there's no way I could make $35,000 a year work for covering all of that. So I part of our recovery or adjustment to a new normal was involving self-analysis of like what can change, what needs to happen different in my life. So I was asking those questions, and I had a mentor that showed up who was also a Bob Proctor coach. He's not coaching for them anymore, but he told me this story of how we become what we think about, and that I don't have time to be thinking the negative thoughts that my wife might die or that I might lose my house. I need to only think about what I want. And so he just gave me that nudge. And there was power in those words. He told me when my wife went in for surgery, he says, come up with an affirmation. And I have it still in my phone. It was something like this: I'm so happy and grateful now that the doctors found this tumor by accident, that they could remove it, and that Jennifer will be a better wife and a better mother and live a long and healthy life. Something very close to that. I said that over and over to myself nonstop, and I felt power in that. Flash forward a couple of months when I had another conversation with this gentleman, and he says, "You've got to have a goal. You have to have a goal, a dream." Something like, I'm so happy and grateful now that, you know, I've earned and saved $1 million or something like that. And those words, when he said those, like something inside me just like I wanted to break down sobbing. I was so emotional because I knew that those words had power through my wife's surgery. And so I talked to my wife, and it was multiple $1,000s to hire him. We didn't have it didn't have the money, but I talked to my wife thinking she'll get me out of it. She'll say like, we can't afford that, Todd, right? She's like, I think we need to do it. I went, crap. Like, cause I know that I need to do it. Now she knows. How are we going to do this? We closed out her retirement, paid off some medical bills. I had $2,000 left over. We manifested the rest of the couple thousand, just showed up later that week, from a parent who sent us money to help us get through the next couple of months. All of a sudden I had the money, and I was looking at a decision of saying, okay, am I going to save that and, get through Christmas and find another job, which I was a career coach and I couldn't find another job. Like I was forcing that change, right? We talked about that a little bit. I was forcing it and it wasn't happening. Or do I spend money hiring this coach who seems to understand how the mind works and tells me that if I can build new habits of thinking, I could create a new life? And that's what I did. So it was a process of pain. Like I literally made the decision I couldn't live life the way that I was living. I couldn't continue to force it. I was missing something. What I was missing was my awareness of who I was, of my power to create the life that I want. I was completely ignorant because school doesn't teach this. And it's been amazing because I've taken this and I have shared it with my clients. I've shared it with, I took the knowledge that I was learning through my coach from Bob Proctor immediately into my classroom that I was teaching job seekers. And all of a sudden those job seekers started getting jobs, earning double or 3 times the amount of money, dream jobs. And then finally I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? And I was led to quit and start working for myself. I did career coaching for a while and tripled my income. But I knew that what caused me to have that change was Bob Proctor's material. So I wanted to coach for him, paid almost my old annual salary to work with him. And now I'm one of his top coaches in the United States. So I think there's me and 5 other people that have the same status or a little bit higher as far as our businesses go. So how did that happen? It's just because I made that decision, motivated out of pain. I can't live this way anymore. And what do they say? When the student is ready, the master appears. That's what happened.
That is true. Very true. It's basically you got totally out of your comfort zone because I mean it could have gone either way, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, absolutely. It was scary. It was scary. It's scary to change your life.
it is very scary. I believe me, I've been through that a couple times. and
Yeah.
but it's the best decision. I mean, getting out of your comfort zone, it is, yes, it is scary because you don't know what's going to happen. You're so used to having that day-to-day life and be like, oh no, you know what? I know what's going to go on and all this. This is what's going to happen. I have A, B, and C there. But then, oh gosh, now something new. What's going to happen with this?
Well, you know what? A lot of people want to have that security in a job and things like that, but really those things are not secure. I mean, look at what's happened over the last year. No one saw the pandemic coming. No one saw the mass layoffs or the shortages of work. I mean, I worked for the state for 5 years, career coaching people. There is no job or profession or degree that is more secure than another. True security comes from within, and relying on a power greater than you to fill in the blanks, to fill in that ignorance, to lead you one step at a time as you walk it, exercising faith to find the answers that you wouldn't have seen otherwise.
And it's basically also like, okay, so for my thing, I got laid off 3 times. Since I started, like my first layoff was back when I was working in CompUSA. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a while ago.
Hey, I got laid off. That was my first one. Then I got laid off from Sears, and then I got laid off from the hotel I was working from. And I'm like, okay, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? But I wasn't happy. I personally wasn't happy until I actually got into real estate. And I was like, it was totally, totally different. Like for me, it was totally different. It was like helping people and all that. But at the same time, I like helping people and inspiring people and motivating people too. So
Yeah.
that this is one of the reasons I actually have my podcast now, because I can talk about different circumstances. It could be as parenting, it can be real estate, it could be divorce, it could be anything and everything. I can even be talking about health. But right now I'm talking about mindset and law of attraction with you.
Right. Right. Let me ask you this. Your changes in success, your growth that you've experienced, would you I would assume, but I want clarification. Do you feel like you've had a bit of a spiritual awakening with this as well?
I have. I have. Because
Yeah.
I so my when I was like younger, I was like, okay, success, success, success. But now, really, what is success for you? What is success for me? I mean, and it's just like, I thought it was all about money. No, it's not about money.
No.
It,
Mm-mm.
and this is like, this has actually recently happened to me. It's like, okay, I didn't have friends, let's put it this way, especially when I lived in North Dakota. I had 1 or 2 friends, but they kept on moving. My exes keep on being sent to Japan. So yeah. Uh, but I'm being serious about that one. But in this case, like I didn't know the meaning of life. Yes, I work myself to the bone, but where is that getting me to?
Yeah.
Now I'm actually having like, okay, I'm actually spending more time with my brother. I'm spending more time with family. That is meaningful. That is rewarding because that's where the experience is going to be in life. And spending time with your loved ones, not working all the time. Don't get me wrong, work is good, but to what extent? What are you paying for? My
Yep.
kids, I pick them up next week. I'm so excited to have them back, but believe me, I have them in a routine, but I want to spend more time with them. Yes, I have. Like I had someone tell me the other day, they're like, well, I thought real estate agents only work during the weekends. No, the busiest days and the busiest days for me are the weekdays. But and you know what, sometimes I do have to work on a weekend. It's not that much, but you know what, I work them, and that is okay,
Yeah.
because I mean that's something that I cannot prevent. But in this case is I'm learning so much about all of this, like the meaning of true success. The meaning of true success is not money. It's about helping people, about being authentic and being real with people. My family time, that's my work life balance too.
That's beautiful. I love that. I actually wanted to, there's a reason why I asked that question, because I felt like saying, like, do you want to know what I think the secret of life is, right? I think it's twofold. I think I'm believing that we are all energy and that we all come from a single unified consciousness, that and if you've ever read the book The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard, this is what I'm talking about. In chapter 1, is I am. It says that consciousness is essentially the light, and all things are made manifest by the light. He quotes Ephesians in the beginning. He says this: consciousness manifests itself. Consciousness is one, manifesting itself in legions of forms and levels of consciousness, meaning that that's what we are as people. We're just manifestations of that one consciousness, spirit. Now, I don't know if you relate to it as God or universe. How do you relate to this infinite divine? What do you give it a label? Do you give it a name,
It all depends on
Cindy?
who I'm talking to, but I usually say universe.
Okay, universe, God. And for your listeners, however you want to, to label that, because these truths are in all religions. It's in the Quran, it's in the Torah, it's in the Bible, it's all over. That we come from that one source, and our job here is to make decisions, I believe, that bring us closer to experience that source. And every choice, in every single choice we have, we can move closer to that divineness within us and express that more, or further away. And if you choose to have move further away, that's okay, because that brings you to another choice where you can still move closer and further away. And that's, you can make the wrong choice maybe and move further away, and then it leads you to another choice. There's infinite choices in life that bring you closer, further away from that oneness. And that the closer we are to that spirit, what that spirit or energy or consciousness wants is greater, fuller expression and expansion of itself. That divine power, call it God, wants to create through you. People are how I think God enjoys his creation and inspires people to do different things and help people out along the way. So it's important to have some ideal that's grander, some goal grander than your current experience, that you want to express yourself, what it is that you want. You have everyone has an unsatisfied desire, because they know that they could be, do, or have more. They could express that spiritual feeling. And the only way to experience that is by setting that intention and trying to become more than you presently are. And you become more than you are by choosing to be closer aligned with that universal power, that, as Wattles calls it, the thinking stuff, whereas the Kabbalion calls it the ethereal substance. To move closer to that and allow that to express itself through you, that life-giving force that even scientists don't know how to understand. That's where that true satisfaction comes with. And that's what I think the secret of life is. And it sounds like you found your journey for now, and where it moves from here is something to be open to. But I know that I've found my path to help teach people how to live that way, and how to have abundance, true abundance. And a lot of people live in lack, for fear of money, and money doesn't buy happiness. In fact, the more money that I earn, the less that I want to buy with it, in all honesty, because it just, things don't matter as much. But if people can resolve any of their pain or stress, and I can help do that and help them feel better and help them get closer to their divine potential, I feel like I've done my job.
It's like I was talking to a few people the past few weeks actually, because all right, so some people focus on a lot of material things,
Yeah,
like my Louis Vuitton, or let me spend my $5,000 Chanel purse or so
right,
forth.
right.
Or, but then these are material things. are you feeling fulfilled with this? Or is this just to help you with your security issues? Or, I mean, I'm not trying to pick out on anybody or so forth, but in my case, it's like I was actually talking with one of my friends. He's a physician, physical therapist, and he owns his own practice. And he tells me, you know what, Cindy, I don't really need to work. I don't really need that money. I
Yep.
mean, I already have already enough passive income. And you see him, I mean, and he's very humble.
Yep.
And that's the beauty of it. Like people that are real are very humble. And sometimes they think most people think that they're entitled because they have money. But are you being really truthful? Or are you
Right.
being, what are you actually, how are you acting with those people? I mean, it's not, money does not make you, doesn't make you like, you don't have to be mean. You can be so humble. It's like,
Yes.
all right, I was working the other day with an investor. Okay, he's a constructor, he's a contractor, he's a painter. He has over 1.2 million dollars in his bank account. All right, you would never think about that.
Yeah.
You would think that he's Joe Schmo from the corner and that's it, or someone else. But the way that he actually acts with people, and he is very he's very humble. And I
Hmm.
compare this with different people. Like the other day I went to a restaurant, and it was a fine dining with some of my friends, and I was actually helping this lady, and the gentleman told me, how much do I owe you? I'm like, but I'm doing it from the bottom of my heart. You don't have to pay me anything. Let the universe pay me. And he was like
Hmm.
shocked. He's like, are you sure you don't
Yeah.
want money? Like, no, I just, I was just helping you. So that's like, this has been like a totally different chapter for me now, because I'm learning that, yes, in my old age, that money's not everything. It is most likely, yes, we do need money, but what is most important in life is family. It's family and creating and building memories. That's what matters. And being there for friends. Truly those people who need you. Money will just come how it has to come. And it will always come.
Yep.
That's where the law of attraction comes in.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's,
Well, in addition, when you're talking about the importance of family, and coming from a career coach, I've had a lot of people that say that, I just want to find a job where I can spend more time or I can work from home remotely, and the money's not important. I think people are willing to trade off because there's that conception out there, that idea that most people, like, in order to earn a lot of money, you have to sacrifice your family. And so people don't want to make that sacrifice. What if you didn't have to sacrifice? The world is abundant. What if you could have all the time that you want with your family and be making a really good income, a solid income that will provide for that family? You can have both. This is the world where you can have your cake and eat it too.
and I totally agree with that. It is, and I mean, I guess after the pandemic, a lot of people have changed on how their lifestyle is.
Yeah,
Now they want to
100%.
be working from home. Hey, look at you, you're working from home too.
I'm working from vacation. Absolutely.
That is correct. But it's just like, I think people are now treasuring and admiring like the lost times that they had with their kids, with their family, with their significant others, that every little thing. And now that's a struggle of going back to, I really want to spend 2 hours in traffic. Do
Right.
I want to, do I want to commute that back and forth? It's like, so I have one of my friends' mom, she basically has been working from home all the time. But you know what's been more valuable to her?
Hmm.
She's been spending time with her grandkids. She has sometimes her granddaughter. She gets to, seeing her happiness at dropping off her granddaughter at the school bus has more meaningful to her than anything. Being able to just have her granddaughter sit by her while she's working, that's amazing. Being able to just take a break and just, okay, all right, I need 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes from home, I mean from work. I'm just gonna go ahead and walk into my kitchen. That's that's like, okay, I don't have to deal with anybody or so forth. But that's actually making me more relaxed. So
And I think people are willing to have to decrease their income to increase their lifestyle. And the message I would want people to look at is to just think differently about it. What if there's a way, because it's a different mindset. Right now, it's a compromised mindset. You know, what's most important is family, and taking the kids to the school bus stop or whatever it is, right? That is most important. But there's some friction right now with employers and employees, and employees definitely have the upper hand in this. And what it requires is an abundant mindset to understand how what you want can be manifest. That's almost going to be a requirement to continue to have that lifestyle, because the old paradigm, the old habit, the old program of going to work and working from an office is still really strong in a lot of people's minds. And there's going to have to be a big paradigm shift for that. And that's just where mindset's going to play a huge role in everybody's future.
That is, I totally agree with that. I mean, it's amazing how all of this um builds up, and how to say this, how everything works out in the long run.
If you allow it to. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a life is supposed to be a journey of enjoyment. We're supposed to have joy in our life and expressing that continually. And the more in awe and gratitude and thanksgiving we can have for everything that happens in life, I think the more that we enjoy that journey. I have another thought to share is, I know there are good and bad things that happen to people. In fact, really the way that we look at it, we see it as good or bad. I had a conversation with someone today who talked about a lot of negative things that have happened to her and some family members that have passed away. And she was saying, there's a lot of people that talk about law of attraction that say you need to like not get super excited or super depressed about other things that happen. And I told her, I said, actually, you want to celebrate everything, even the bad things that have happened. There's good in everything, good and bad in everything. It's one of the laws of the universe, is law of polarity. And if you can find what is good and magnify and harvest what is good and allow that to grow, you'll experience more of that. And so I think if we can walk around in a state of celebration for everything that happens, good or bad, I think we can see that the universe is moving us forward. There are a lot of bad things that have happened to me, like my wife's brain tumor, that now I celebrate that moment because it's the moment that everything changed. I'm so grateful for that moment.
It's just like in my case, I basically like my divorce and my breakup. Look, if it weren't for my divorce and my breakup, I wouldn't be here. I would have not written a book. I wouldn't been creating this podcast. I wouldn't be like hustling and selling houses and connecting with people. It's built me a totally different person that I was 3 years ago, 2 years ago. And I keep on evolving to become a better person.
I wonder who you will be in a couple of years.
I don't know. We'll have to do a
Isn't
part
that
2 and 3. We'll
is,
definitely stay connected.
isn't that going to be fun to experience and see what that turns out to be?
That is true. That is very true. I don't know. How do you see yourself in 2 or 3 years?
I see myself having more of this experience. Actually, this being up here in northern Michigan, I'm in a small little town called Glen Arbor. This is a manifestation of a goal of mine. When I started in 2016 with my coach, I wanted to find some way to earn six figures and spend long summers up here. This is a family property. My great grandfather built several properties along here in the 50s. And my mom used to bring me up here. She was a teacher, so she had summers off and brought me and my brother up here. And my dad only had 2 weeks of vacation, so he could come up at the tail end. But we spent most of the time visiting family downstate. But I wanted to live a life of greater abundance, and I wanted to spend as long as I could up here. It had been several years since I'd been up here. I was up here in 2010 and then 2014, and my wife got sick in 15 and 16. And when I hired my coach, this is all I ever wanted, because it was the feeling of abundance, limitless. Like I could go play on the beach, or I could go read a book or play in the woods. Like you know, that feeling when you're a kid and you could do whatever you wanted to. Like I wanted that feeling as an adult. Well, every year since 2017, I've spent more and more time back here. Last year, I spent 10 weeks up here working.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was the first time I earned my old annual income in a month. And I've now turned that into a recurring monthly income. In fact, I've earned much more than that in a single month. Like it's really amazing how it's grown. Where do I see myself in a couple of years? More and more abundance. I'm growing my company right now, where I have other people working for me as operation managers, and I'm going to have other coaches working for me, just to help spread this more. I've got a book. You're bringing back to my mind that I have to write my book
I was gonna say,
and
you
get that
gotta
out
write your
there.
book. You definitely gotta write your book. Hey, there's a reason. I'm telling you, there's a reason we connected. And the funny thing is, we connected through TikTok, out of all places.
Crazy. It's crazy. So I have my goals, and I know what those are, and I know that I'm going to achieve those. And the person that I need to be, this is the interesting thing, the person I need to be to attract those goals into my life, I don't have figured out quite yet. If I did, I'd be living that way and I'd be in harmony with it, and I'd have that in my experience. So I don't have those things yet. And so it is a process of every day becoming better. But I do know this: I want to be a more generous, more serene, more loving, more patient, uh, more understanding, more intuitive, more generous. I like all of those things. Um, I want to be more of that kind of person, and I want to help. I want to be more effective at helping people understand their power and potential, because there's a lot of people that are afraid to make those changes, and I want to be really skilled at helping people see their potential and helping them walk into it. And so I'm already doing that. I'm already highly successful doing that. I'm probably one of the top in the world doing that, in any coaches that are teaching law of attraction. But I know that it's possible to be better. And that's got to start with me giving more of myself. So um, that's maybe how I see myself in the future. And what that success looks like and how much I could earn and how big my company is, I have no idea. I always feel like I'm just at the beginning. I've barely gotten started.
And definitely, and you gotta, like I said, you gotta write that book.
I will.
Definitely start writing notes and all that too.
I will. I've got a large portion of it at least in my mind or outlined. So it's just about setting it down and doing it. So when I get back from here, I've been up here in Michigan since middle of June, and I'll go back middle of August here in just a couple of weeks. That's on my list to be start writing and have that daily routine of writing.
That's awesome. Little
Great.
by little, you'll, and sometimes when you start, you can't stop writing at all.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it just happens. And I know that the time is coming. I can feel it coming, and it's going to trigger another evolution for me. And what that looks like, well, I'm not really sure yet.
Hey, and you'll be probably on stages and all that, talking and motivating people, and people will be paying to see you and just to hear you.
Yep, absolutely. I was on track to do that before this silly pandemic, but I'll tell you what. You know what? One last thing I want to tell you, because I know we're coming to the end here. One of my biggest goals was to give my family the most abundant Disneyland vacation in the world. Like I wanted to go spend a week on the property and stay at the Disneyland hotel or Grand Californian, whatever. Allow the kids to buy whatever they wanted. And in January of 2020, my wife looks at me and says, you know what, if we just don't do this, we're always going to be the family that talks about it, never does it. And so we were one of the last groups in Disneyland. It was in the end of February when I took the kids, and had that incredible abundant experience. I know that that's what I want more than anything, is to continue to show my kids how to live abundantly. And so that was something that I manifested. And just prior to COVID, I was doing seminars and I was doing classes, and all of it was going really well. And then I got this incredible gift to change perspectives on how it needs to happen and to work on myself to make it happen easier. And you know what? I look at all of this last year and a half or so as such a gift from the universe. It's been really, really incredible. But I'm also glad that I took that trip and made that decision when I did. It was really awesome. Anyways, I just for some reason felt like I needed to share that story.
Hey, everything's meant to be, and you gotta just put it out there and just gotta do it. Especially like for me, like kids, my kids are so meaningful and so important to my life. And it's just like most likely I'm always talking about my kids. I mean, they're funny too. They're funny looking and they're funny talking too. They're not funny
Absolutely.
looking. They're really handsome, but they're really smart too. But it's just like for me, I for me it's very significant to travel with my kids. Like I don't like buying them toys. I don't like spending a lot of money on toys or anything that are going to be meaningless. I mean,
Right.
to me, it's meaningless. But traveling with them and building memories, that's the most amazing thing that I can give to my kids. That's for me. And
Mhm.
they love it because they'll be talking about it, like they'll continue talking about it over and over and over again. Like unexpectedly, we I met my neighbor. It's a funny story. So they she has her daughter in the same school, and I started following her to her house because I knew that she lived in the same subdivision. And then I actually started looking to her on Facebook because she had like, oh wait, I didn't know who she was, but I didn't want to like knock on her door. Happens to be the same week that we actually met. They were the following weekend they were actually planning to go on a Disney trip, and we took our kids to the Disney trip with all that. So that's something
Awesome.
that my son talks about it too, and I'm like, oh, interesting, okay. So it's those are the memories that I want to continue building with my kids.
Perfect. I love it. Me too. Absolutely. That's what we're here to do.
Definitely. But all right, so I guess we are at the end of this. Is
Yeah.
there anything else that you want to say, Todd? Before
No, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on, Cindy. I really appreciate it. I love what you're doing. It's fantastic. I'm grateful for this opportunity to share a little bit of my knowledge and experience, and we're just grateful to be here. If people are interested in learning more, I'll give you some links so that you can put it in the show notes. But come find me on TikTok. I'm the only Todd L Bauerle out there, so I'm sure you'll have my name in the show notes or something like that so people can find me. Come find me on TikTok and follow and send me a message.
Oh, definitely. I'll definitely put your information down there. And this is Cindy Presgraves with Real Estate Divorce Single Mom. And I'll see you guys next time.